Welcome back. We're continuing with Chapter 8, Section 8. And what we're doing here is we're playing a game. We're generating a number between 1 and 10. And the user is trying to guess what that number is. So the first step we have to do here is we have to import the random integer function from the random library. So remember, the less coding we do, the more skilled we are as programmers. So being familiar with these libraries and their contents is important. And now we're going to generate a random number between 1 and 10 and store it inside random number. And the user has 3 guesses. So we're going to start off, we're going to initialize guesses remaining, or the guesses left, to 3. And then we enter the while loop. So we have 3 guesses left. That is greater than 0. So this evaluates, the condition evaluates to true, and we immediately decrement our remaining guesses by 1. And notice the operator we use to decrement. If that bothers you, you don't like the way that looks, well, you can use this instead. Guesses left equals guesses left minus 1, and it means exactly the same thing, but of course if you write it the way we've written it here, it saves you a lot of keystrokes. And now we have to prompt the user to make a guess. It comes in as a string. That's what the raw input means. And since we're doing a numeric comparison, the numeric operators greater than, equal to, and so on don't work unless it's a number. So we immediately have to convert what the user entered into an integer, and we're going to store it inside guess. Now let me roll up the if part here. Okay, this is the nice thing about Notepad++. I'm going to roll up the if clause here. So we're taking in our guess, and then we're going to loop 3 times, and every time we're going to decrement guesses remaining or guesses left by 1. When this condition is no longer true, we exit out of the while loop and we go to the else statement here, and it prints a statement, you lose. However, if the user does succeed in guessing the number, and that's what we're testing here, if the guess that was obtained from the user is equal to, that's a comparison equal, to the random number that was generated up here, then you print the following message, you win, and you immediately break out. Now, one common mistake we make here is we will see the else or the if, and we may believe this else is part of it. So we indent it like so, and that's not the case. The else actually belongs to the while loop, and this takes getting used to. If you've been programming for a little while, you know that these indents have no meaning in most programming languages. Python is an exception, and indents have syntactic meaning, so this means something different than this. So that is something we need to be careful about. So let's go ahead and execute this. So I'm going to copy the code into a Python editor, and instead of putting it in a Python 3 editor, I'm going to find an online Python 2. That way I don't have to modify the code in any way, and I found one online, and you can use the same one if you like. And it looks like it's the same editor, but it's a different language. It is Python 2 instead of Python 3. So let's paste our code in there, and let's go ahead and run it. So what is your guess? So I have to guess a number between 1 and 10. So I'll start with the guess 1. Nope. Guess 2. Number 2. Nope. Oh, it is 2 and I won. So that is how this code would actually work. Otherwise, if I guessed 3 times incorrectly, it would print you lose. In section 9, okay, this is interesting. We're reviewing the range keyword in a for loop. So let's copy that into our editor. And we can see that when we run it, okay, it doesn't go up to the number 20, it goes up to the number 19, because if you include 0 and the for loop starts at 0, then we have then looped 20 times. And that is how you loop 20 times, with the range 20 command in there. In the next one, what we're doing is in section 10, we are looping through 3 times. So the syntax is nice. It tells us right away, and if we're not working with an index, we're looping 3 times, and we're prompting a user for a hobby, and we'll be adding those hobbies. We're going to be appending them to a hobbies list. So before we enter the loop, it is empty. When we enter, we're getting raw information from the user, and then we append that hobby to the hobbies list. And notice here we're doing a string conversion, and I'll explain that in a minute. So let's go ahead and copy this code, go to our editor, and place that in. And let's go ahead and run this. So enter a hobby. So I enjoy hiking. A second hobby, we have to enter 3 hobbies. Well, how about like riding my bike? And a third hobby, well, I collect a few different items. So let's enter that. And then it mentions back the list of hobbies that we entered. Now we can get to this string function that we applied here. If we remove it, and let's make sure we have matching brackets here, we get the same result, but there is a slight difference here. So let's write the same hobbies in again. So hiking, and I like riding my bike, and I like collecting a few things. Okay, so this time, in Python 2, it printed it out correctly, so we don't have that problem with or without that string conversion. But as you can guess, it just simply converts it into a string, and it removes any other code there that describes any what is called meta markup for that. But that's an advanced topic. We don't need to look at that right now. And we'll do one more here, but this time we're using our for list, our for loop, to iterate through a word, the word eggs. So let's paste that into our editor. And let's click run. And you can see here that we are printing out the letters one at a time in our Python